Before we go, I just want to ask about President Biden. He is saying he's going to run again in 2024. Will you support him?
You know, if the president chooses to run again in 2024, I mean, first of all, I'm focused on winning this majority right now and preserving a majority this year in 2022. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think if the president has a vision, then that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
That's not a yes.
Yeah, you know, I think we should endorse when we get to it. But I believe that the president has been doing a very good job so far. And, you know, should he run again, I think that I think we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But right now we need to focus on winning a majority instead of a presidential election.
A lot has been made this week about words, how much they matter, how much stirring the pot, giving the green light to violence in any way, shape, or form is unacceptable. Take a listen to this.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
On the steps of the Supreme Court, did those words qualify, Senator?
So here's a key distinction. What Senator Schumer was saying was that he was upset, he was alarmed, he was concerned at the prospect that justices would reverse decades of a well-established fundamental constitutional right in our country. What he did not say was, let's go attack them.
Secretary Yellen, who has the job you once had, said this week that, quote, there is nothing to suggest a recession is in the works. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
You think a recession is in the works?
I think when inflation is as high as it is right now and unemployment is as low as it is right now, it's almost always been followed within 2 years by recession. I look at what's happening in the stock and bond markets. I look at where consumer sentiment is. I think there's certainly a risk of recession in the next year. I think given where we've gotten to, it's more likely than not that we'll have a recession within the next 2 years. That is something we can manage. We've had them for the whole history of the country. We need to be prepared and to respond quickly if and when it happens. But I think the optimists were wrong a year ago in saying we'd have no inflation, and I think they're wrong now in being, if anyone's highly confident that we're going to avoid recession.
Biden, you've seen him change his tone a little bit when talking about inflation. Because in the beginning, a lot of Democrats were saying, hey, look, the economy, it's doing great. It's the best in, record number of years. And people weren't feeling that. People were saying, why are you telling me it's good when all these prices are going up? So you are starting to see Democrats shift the messaging a little bit to talk more about and have that empathy. But whether that is a little too late, we're still a couple months away, but it could be a little too late for a lot of these people who are saying we need help now.
New data shows consumer prices soared last month, sending inflation climbing 8.6% from last year, the highest since 1981. Biden delivering the bad news today after predicting 6 months ago that the inflation crisis had hit its peak.
I think you'll see it change sooner than quicker, than more rapidly than it will take than most people think.
Prices are now higher for everything from food, fuel, rent to used cars.
Year over year, these are the Moneyball numbers. Year over year headline, 8.6, a new cycle high, usurping March, which was 8.5. That was the highest since 1981. Now 8.6 continues to be the highest since 81 because the comp there is 8.9 to 11.8%. And if we look at year over year core, also hotter than expectations, up 6%, following 6.2%. High water mark there, 6.5, and that was in March, and that was the highest since 1982. But remember, even at 6%, coming down from the high water mark of 6.5, that standalone is still the highest since 1982. So these are super stubborn numbers. And our panel, our esteemed panel, has lots of brain power there, and they go in lots of categories, Joe, as to why inflation's here, the all of the above mentioned. I will say that out of all the above, energy. And there's so many comments here about, the administration can only do so much. You know what? We all said that about the Fed. And then there's this thing called forward guidance. So the Fed gets the market to do things long before it takes action by telling them what's in their head, what lies down the road. What was the forward guidance with this administration on energy? We know the answer. Maybe they can't get things to happen faster, but by giving positive forward guidance, by not closing pipelines, by not talking pre-election about how much they don't like fossil fuel, maybe things would have turned out a bit different. Joe, back to you.
Check that out. That's not a mistake. $6.68 a gallon. And that's common here in Los Angeles, the state with the most expensive gas in the country. And you mentioned it, gas creeping up towards that $5 mark. AAA putting it at $4.98. That's nearly $2 more than it was this time last year. And with the summer driving season set to begin, experts are saying that demand for fuel is going to rise, which means the price of fuel is going to rise. Wall Street saying we could see $6 a gas nationwide by the end of the summer. And maybe
total inflation 8.6%. That's the year-over-year mark. The estimate was 8.3, so that's much higher than thought. And then you see the residual effect of that: grocery store prices, the housing costs, and the fuel price of gasoline up 48% year-over-year.
And now you see people are realizing that as gasoline is rising above $5 a gallon, this is really affecting people's behavior, right? So yesterday we reported on how AAA has said that they've had a 40% increase in calls from people who have run out of gas. And one of the reasons that is because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, but you got to get to work, you might only put 2 gallons in.
So look at number 5, guys. The poll question is, what's the most urgent issue facing the country today? And you'll find that, I mean, it's no contest. Yep. And that number is only going to go higher. Now, back it up one to call for number 4. What's the effect of that politically in the White House? Joe Biden's approval rating on the economy is 2/3 disapprove of his job on the economy. And that is, well, that is job number 1 for a president.
This week, when the president did his interview with Jimmy Kimmel, that was the first he'd done in 118 days with anybody sitting down to do an interview. Jimmy Kimmel never even brought up inflation. President Biden himself had to bring it up, and he said it is the bane of our existence. And yet Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen yesterday tried to sound positive. She said the job market's very good. We have an unemployment rate at about 3.6%. But that is not comforting to people who are having a hard time meeting their budgets.
The company that makes an Oreo cookie, Dana, its overall input costs go up about 10 to 13% because of this per year. And that's because of transportation, fuel, the ingredients it takes to get in the product, eggs.
Eggs are up 33%.
And what we don't think about, when you're at a grocery store or a deli and you're shopping, you don't think about the packaging and the plastics. All that goes into the higher prices that we're seeing now. All right.